vocalist for years with touring bands. So we want to welcome her as a guest host. And we want to welcome our very special guests this morning, Mark Gladstone and Sherelle Jardine from BC, two musicians. Mark is with the band. He's the keyboard player and vocalist for Prism.
Hey guys.
And Sherelle is with the Stone Poets and Head. Thank you two for joining us today. We had some difficulties and stuff, but we're on track right now. So thank you for doing this with us today.
No worries. Thanks for having us.
It's just 2020 gremlins.
Yeah, for sure. Everything's been crazy this year. That's for sure.
Par for the course. Hey
That
guys,
is
happy
for sure.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
Happy
you did.
Thanksgiving. Yes, definitely.
So it looks like you guys have a lot going on. You're involved in a lot of things in that, music-wise, which is great. It's always good to keep busy. So tell everybody how you got your start in music, both of you.
All right. So
At the same time.
Well, if you want to, or you can divide it off. However you just divide things like that off and talk, it's up to you. No, yeah, one at a time, obviously.
moving first, I'll do it really nice and compacted. So basically in school plays and all that stuff, really got an interest for music. And my girlfriend had an old beat-up guitar, and so she gave it to me. And the head was actually broken, the headstock. So I gaffer taped it together, and I learned a few chords. And that was, I guess, about 14. So that's really my introduction to music. And then all the crazy, bands that came out like Alice Cooper that just made me go, oh my God, I've got to do this. And from there, it just, we've got to train.
Hey,
From
there you go.
Through the years. So that was my first start in music.
That's a dominant seventh, by the way. That train is sounding a dominant seventh. Just to let you know. I started kind of in a cliche way, I guess. I was 7 years old. My parents put me into piano lessons. But I think my main, the real start for me as far as like playing rock music and stuff was I went over to my cousin's place once for dinner, and he showed me his record collection, and there was records in there by Queen and Jethro Tull and Genesis. I'd never heard any of those bands before, and I think that was pretty much it. I didn't look back after that.
Wow, that's cool. It's interesting how people get started. I'm always fascinated by that. So did you have a love for that, growing up, or did you have other interests growing up, sports or anything like that?
Well, I used to smoke a lot of pot.
I love it.
There you go.
Be it sport or not. Yeah, no, really. I think music was the. Oh, I played baseball, but that was later.
Oh, did you?
I
Okay.
awakened all sports.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh,
So I'm going to jump in here. First of all, I have this overwhelming urge to call you Lord and Lady. Lord Mark and Lady Sherelle. Do you want to expand a little bit on that?
That is, well, I'm going to let you talk about it because you're the one who initiated that.
Oh, okay. It's a company called Established Titles, and it was an ad I saw that advertised that you could actually buy a plot of land in Scotland. So we did that. It's more or less an environmental company. So they plant a tree on your plot. So we've got 2 plots, and so we have 2 trees in Scotland. And yeah, you can't build on it or anything, but it's a fun thing to do.
It's fun and good for the environment.
So now we're Lord William Mark Gladstone and Lady Alberta Jardine.
right
That's
on.
awesome. And it's a good thing it's in Scotland because you know what we say, right? If it's not Scottish, crap.
If it's not Scottish, it's crap. Is that what they say?
That's what they say.
All right.
That's what they say.
Well, that yeah, I never heard that before.
So, Mark and Sherelle, I just want to sort of start talking a little bit about, of course, the devastating effect of COVID on the entertainment industry as a whole. Can you maybe give us an idea of what you were doing, what sort of things that you were up to before the COVID took over, and just how that's really affected yourself and I know you have a lot of musician friends viewing right now. So if you could just go ahead and touch a little bit on that.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll talk a little bit about Stone Poets, who was actively, touring and doing shows, all through 2019 we had festivals booked and different shows booked for 2020, and we actually were in Mexico on a nice little vacation, coming back to, you know, very last day where we actually could come back to Canada, and then realizing that one by one, all of our shows were canceled, all of our festivals were canceled, just anything that we had going, and Stone Poets had this huge event behind us, so we were really, you know, gathering some steam, and then all of a sudden it was just like somebody just took a hammer and just, you know, like put a stop to it. So, you know, us and many other musicians are all in the same boat. We have no idea what's going to happen. We're just kind of taking it day by day, but Mark is in Prism, which has even a bigger, you know, reach with festivals and so on.
And all those shows were canceled too, so I think I lost something like total between all the bands, about 60 gigs just for this year only, right? So we're now looking ahead till next year, and I'm hearing things like the Rolling Stones are canceling their tours and stuff for 2021. So I don't know how long it's going to go on. That's the performance side of it, and I also teach piano, and that's being severely affected too, because I can't teach in my little cubicle with a student anymore. So I'm teaching online, which is a different beast. I don't know if you know what that would entail, but you know, some of the problems we had getting this going, that happens for piano lessons too.
Yeah, I'm sure that would be very difficult, and it's kind of difficult too. You know, even if you have to do like a drive-through type event, we've had some of those here in Lethbridge, and it's still not the same for the artist because you don't get that energy off of the crowd, so it can be very devastating that way. So I'm sure, you know, that affects how you perform or that as well in some cases.
Well, yeah, the band feeds off the audience,
Yeah.
you know, and if you're feeding off the honking horns instead of the
Yeah.
the cheering, it's a bit different.
It's
yeah.
not the same feel at all.
No.
You know, Mark, you mentioned the Stones, and it had me thinking, you know, we focus a lot as Canadians on how COVID has affected the Canadian music industry, but you know, I was thinking the other day on a global scale how catastrophic this is. I mean, you know, Broadway is shut down, and Cirque du Soleil went bankrupt, and just last week, Second City comedy clubs are sold, you know, which is where a lot of really famous comedians got their start. And so how do you see this turning around, or where do you see this turning around?
Oh God, nobody knows. But yeah, just want to add to your point about things shutting down. Not to get too negative about it, but like, so if the Stones are canceling their tours, then all the other big bands likely are too. And then the support acts for the Stones and for all those other bands, they don't have any shows anymore either. And I don't know, if you were a promoter right now, would you be booking a big festival?
Probably not. No, probably not. And you know, as you mentioned, Mark, not only just the musicians and the promoters, but you know, the technical people, the lighting people, the booking agents. It's you know, it's affected industries all over, but the music industry is so universal, and you know, it's just quite unbelievable to me. And
Yeah, it's funny because people don't actually realize how much goes behind,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
not a con. And as you mentioned, all those technical people, nobody's working, you know, nobody in the industry. And, you know, it's just the few little cover, you know, bands like duos or something that
Yeah.
might still be playing at some of the pubs.
50
But
people
for,
or less, right?
for
Yeah,
original
yeah.
artists, that's not our venue, you know, so we don't have any place to play. We have been doing some live stream concerts, but once again, it's kind of like that drive-in concert.
Yeah.
You know, we're looking at the screen and we can see people going clap, clap, clap. But
It's not the same.
Drop it.
Yeah, like they always say, like even in sports, nothing beats the roar of a crowd, right? And yeah, to be a live musician and stuff it'd be very frustrating right now, and it's too bad that, you know, it's escalated to this. But too, I mean, positively, it may be short-lived, right? And get back to that. So you know, I mean, it's uncertain, but there is positivity on the horizon too.
you know, I think things are starting to slightly turn around. I know locally here in Lethbridge, we've got some great live music venues, and there's a great little club called The Slice, and they recently brought the Mark Hall Band in. So I think slowly people are starting to, get back to the live music with the social distancing policies in place. And so it's, you know, I see a slight positive spin, but however, as far as the big event, you know, the arena shows and stuff like that, it could be a while, I think.
Definitely. And I think it's really important too that artists, because we are so frustrated, we don't know where our next, you know, money is coming from. Basically, you know, the government has come through with the CERB, and you know, now they're doing an EI thing that we're still not sure about. But I think that everybody needs to just take this time as a pause.
Yep.
Stone Poets is actually writing our new album right now.
Oh,
so
nice.
Time to put it together and have it released for next spring, so that once this is all ready to roll, then we have a new album basically that we can come out with. But on the other side, you know, you have to make money in order to record. So
Right.
Right.
we're up for grants, etc., hoping that they do come through for us.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's crazy right now. It's crazy.
I see a lot of posts on Facebook and stuff about that musicians need to find something else to do to make money, but that's like thinking, well, music's just a hobby, go get a job at Seagull.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, how do you do that? Do something else when you've done that your whole life, right? You know, it doesn't make sense to say that, right?
It's not so much what you do as who you are.
Yeah. Well, that's
You
what
know,
it
and so
is.
to tell an artist to, you know, go
Yeah.
sell shoes or whatnot to get by is yeah, kind of laughable. But so speaking of the quarantine, guys, I have a question for you. So, how else have you been spending your time during the quarantine? Sherelle, you mentioned that you've been doing some writing and whatnot. So I'm just curious, because I gotta say, when this whole quarantine first started, I was kind of thinking, you know, I wish I had someone to be all quarantined down with. And then after about a month, I was so sick of myself and so bored. I was like, I'm really glad I don't have to amuse somebody else. But I know the two of you have you know, you've been doing outdoor activities and all. Can you just give us an idea of how you've been staying sane during the strange?
Oh my God.
That's my term for it, is the strange.
Yeah. Luckily, we do have a patio, but now with the weather changing, you know, now we're in. But, you know, it's great because Scott from Stone Poets, he's been in our bubble, so we actually have him and his wife that we can get together. We do rehearsing and stuff. So, but Mark and I both have autoimmune diseases, and so we've been really very cautious about where we go and, you know, who we would see if we did. Because, you know, we're immune to possibly getting COVID and being really, really sick from it. So we have to be really cautious. But we've been doing a lot of writing. And
I think the answer is different depending on the band we're talking about. Like, if you're talking about Prism or Head, it's at a standstill. We're on hiatus, I guess. We can't really do anything.
Yeah.
We're loud rock bands. Stone Poets is just three of us, acoustic guitars, lots of harmonies. We can rehearse outside, or at least we were able to in the summertime. That's gonna kind of go away and dry up, I guess, too now. But we don't have to make much noise. So, and there's only three of us, and like we said, Scott's in our bubble anyway. So we can keep going. But
Yeah.
the other band.
So,
but we did some fun stuff, like we were doing a cooking show.
Oh,
on
cool.
Facebook.
Cool.
well, that's cool. Hey, you could do a music cooking show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to learn cooking from us.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, shepherd's pie with Lord and Lady.
You could do what type of
Cooking
music?
with the Lord and Lady.
What type of music do you do with Stone Poets? What classification is it? What kind of music?
Yeah, it's hard to categorize. I guess we've used alternative folk before.
Okay.
Modern folk.
But folk is kind of almost misleading because you start to think of Canadians singing about maple trees and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
We sing about addiction and,
Yeah.
you know,
Sometimes it's the other side of the tracks kind of thing. But we also sing, we have a song called The Great Divide. That's about bringing people together, especially in this electoral time and COVID.
I've heard it described recently, Mark, as dark folk, and I think that kind of sums it up. The Sweetest Sin is one of my favorite tracks, and to me it's hauntingly beautiful, and so I can see where there's that slight darkness infused in the music.
That one definitely is dark folk, but I think if you use the term dark folk, some people get turned off. They don't want them.
Mhm.
That's sounds bit to that.
yeah. So we're going modern folk, I think.
Modern
That might
folk.
be the
Right.
route for us, but absolutely love playing with Stone Poets. And if anybody is interested, they can go to stonepoet.ca and find out more about the band. And our other band that we didn't really talk about, headmusic.ca.
Cool. You're listening live to Feel the Beat with DJ B here on Jess FM. Go to our website, jessfm.ca. You'll be able to watch and listen live wherever you are. And we are now on Roku, streaming live as well. So go to Roku, download the streaming app from there, SSH101. You'll find Jess FM on there, and you can watch us live as well. So yeah, being able to connect the audience with those, that's great. Can you repeat those websites for us again, Sherelle?
Yeah, it's stonepoets.ca.
Perfect.
Headmusic.ca.
Okay, excellent. And that gives an idea or a bio of the band and the tracks, I'm sure, of your music and everything as well, right?
And how to buy.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. How to buy, exactly.
This is important.
You want to sell those tracks, that's for sure. Right on. So, you guys are not just musicians, but you have interest in sports and other things as well. Do you do any of like exercising? Do you have any other interests besides sports and that, or do you just play music, and watch sports, or what other interests do you have?
I cycle quite a bit, so I'm always, if the weather is decent, I'm out there on my bike.
Nice.
That's probably about it for physical activity
Yeah.
for me. Yeah.
I do aerobics. I have a hula hoop that I have a routine that I do, so I try and do that every day.
Yeah.
But on top of those kind of things that we do, we also both have radio shows.
Oh, cool.
So on Pacific Northwest Radio, I have a show called Make Us Scene Canada, and where I explore new music and also talk to iconic Canadian artists. And it's been about 3 years, and so people can find it there at PacificNorthwestRadio.com. They can go check it out. The first page, you can just click on the icon and all the past shows. And then Mark has a show.
My show is called Green Beans, Mushroom Soup, and Strawberry Ice Cream. Okay, say that back.
Green beans, mushroom soup, and strawberry ice cream.
Nice, good job.
There you go.
Tell us what we win, Bob.
I do listen. Right on. Excellent. So, and the radio show that you do, is it online based?
Yeah.
It is.
Yes. Okay. And how can people log into those radio stations again?
PacificNorthwestRadio.com.
Perfect.
And on the right-hand side, you're going to see the icons of our shows. You can just click on it, and it goes to all our past shows. But we're also on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, plus a whole array of sites waiting for people to discover. So whatever you listen to your favorite podcast in, just type in Make Us Scene Canada or Green Beans, Mushroom Soup, Strawberry Ice Cream, and you'll find us there.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah, that should be great for everybody to log in and listen to. So, who were your musical inspirations? Who inspired you to get into performing and playing music and writing songs?
Do you go
Okay.
first?
Well, yeah, like I already mentioned, when I first kind of got introduced to the rock and roll side of things, other than mainstream, I guess, so was Jethro Tull, Queen, Genesis. I wore out The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway by Genesis. Rush was a big one for me.
For sure.
Emerson, Lake and Palmer, because of being a keyboard player, I guess. And then more recently, maybe the last 15, 20 years, would be Nine Inch Nails. Kind of showed me that keyboards can be used aggressively too, not just as some kind of thing. So,
Which you hear a lot in head. If you're
Yeah.
listening to head music, he's predominantly, the instrument that sticks out the most. And for me, I think it was more bands like Led Zeppelin, and then once like anybody that was a female fronted band, so Janis Joplin,
Oh, cool.
Pretenders, Deborah Harry, Annie Lennox, Pat Benatar, kind of those female fronted bands.
Yeah.
That's what,
Oh, right on.
So I got a question for you. Sorry, Sherelle, I think I might have cut you off there. There's a bit of a delay, but Maybe going back to the Prism years, do you notice, is there a definite difference between a Canadian audience as opposed to an American audience?
Well, that's a hard one to answer, I guess, because in my time in prison, we've only played Buffalo, New York,
And how is that?
as we cross the line, right? And it's a, well, the casino over there, I mean, you're almost in Toronto, so the audience is pretty much the same, I thought. So you'd say, I would say the difference lies more in a casino audience as opposed to a festival
Yeah.
audience. Those are different. I didn't really notice any difference between, other than crossing the border, which is always a not fun experience.
I'm sure it's not.
Right. Because us Canadians, we love our Canadian bands, and so I have another question for you, and I'll pose this to both of you. Favorite Prism song?
Oh.
Like to play or to listen to, or
Just in general, to play, to listen to.
I think it's one that we don't play much anymore. A ballad probably, It's Over.
Beautiful song. Sherelle?
But I like that with the tablets and
Oh, off the newest album, Big Black Sky, and that is called Tangier.
10 years.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Right
cool.
on, good stuff.
That's awesome, yeah.
And so, do you stay in touch? And do you stay in touch with other members of Prism during this quarantine?
Yeah, like we talk over text, yes. Oh, sure.
Right.
So,
Oh,
yeah.
there we are.
There we are.
Yeah, it's just freezing up because of the delay.
Because it's
You're
2020.
fine.
Because
You're
it's
fine.
2020.
Everything's going wrong.
So, Mark and Cheryl, how long have you guys been married?
We've been married for 5 years.
I played it safe there. Let her answer that.
Cheryl had the detail.
Yeah, I just hung up the phone and I'm like,
He knows way better at that than you.
yeah.
Yeah, good call there, Mark. Good call. So, what piece of advice have you guys ever gotten from somebody to keep going? Sometimes music industry can be very discouraging. You want to, give up, nothing's working. What piece of advice have you gotten that you still use today that, kind of encourages you and makes you keep going through difficult times?
I think for me, and it's nice having the radio show because I've gotten to speak to quite a few iconic Canadian artists before, and most of them say to do it because you actually love it and you're not doing it because you're kind of a star
Stole
or
my answer.
oh sorry. You're doing it for the absolute sheer love of the music and not because you want to be a star. So I think that's the most important thing that we can pass on to any artist.
That would be the same advice we would give somebody else. Yeah, you do it because you love it.
And you measure success, but by where you are today. So when I think about some artists that are maybe have done it the same amount of time and maybe don't have the same accolades that we have, for me, I mean, I have 13 CDs I put out during my lifetime. All my stuff. I consider that really successful. I'm not selling a 100,000 stadium out or whatever, but those are successes that you have. Having a really great band, what you love in music, those are successes to me. So I think you have to measure where you are right now and
Yeah.
kind of.
Absolutely, Cheryl. I think if you get paid to do what you love to do for free, that's success right there. And I personally spent most of the 90s and 80s on the road, not making a whole lot of money, but in my mind that was success, to be able to get up every day and go and do what I love to do for 4 hours every night. I felt incredibly lucky.
You were getting paid to see places in Canada that some people never get to see.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's awesome. And we want to thank you guys for doing this with us today. It's been a pleasure, and thank you for your patience with our technical difficulties we were having connecting. That happens sometimes with digital, but it's been a complete pleasure talking to both of you.
Absolutely, and I just want to say this. Hey, you guys, take care of yourself and keep your chins up. And I know you have a lot of musician friends watching from back home today, so this goes out to all of you musicians out there. Just stay strong and keep your chin up, because we're going to need you when this mess is over. we're gonna
We're
need
ready.
you. We're gonna need you all more than ever, and it's gonna be one hell of a concert then. So
Yeah, and I utter those same words. Just this can't last forever. We will be able to get back to that, and because music transcends all boundaries. It's the universal language, and we can't get away without not having live music in some form because it brings people together, and that's what we need, right? So,
We
thank-
need it, yeah.
yeah,
We're ready. We're ready.
right on.
been ready for months.
You
I bet,
betcha.
eh?
So thank you again for joining us from BC. Appreciate that very much. Continued success to both of you,
Yes.
and we hope you have a great day.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Take care.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And thank you everybody for
Bye.
tuning in today on Jess FM. Appreciate that very much. You can go to our website, jessfm.ca. You'll be able to listen live, and you'll be able to go to our Facebook and YouTube where you'll be able to watch this interview later on as well. And we also have streaming Roku. Thank you for tuning in to Feel the Beat
Thanks,
with
guys.
DJ B. Have a great evening. Have a great afternoon. DJ B out.